The economy is going to be a defining issue in this campaign because Senator McCain and I have very different visions of where the economy is today and where it needs to go. Senator McCain said earlier this year that America had made, and I quote, "great progress economically over the past 8 years." He believes we're on the right track, and he's launching a new economic tour today with policies that are very much the same as those that we've seen from the Bush administration. The central component of Senator McCain's economic plan is $300 billion more in tax cuts for big corporations and multimillionaires, less than a quarter of which will benefit the 80% of American families that make up the bulk of America's middle class. Let me repeat that. Less than a quarter of his tax cuts will go to the middle class. Under Senator McCain's economic plan, ExxonMobil, a company that recently reported the biggest profit in history, would get $1.2 billion in tax breaks, while less than a quarter of the benefits go to the middle class. What's worse, he has no concrete plan to pay for these tax breaks. So his policies would actually add more than $2 or $3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade and weaken our economy even further. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's exactly what George Bush has done for the last 8 years. Now, I won't stand here and pretend that we can or should undo the economic transformations that have taken place over the last decade. Globalization is here to stay. There are jobs that aren't coming back, and this world will always be more competitive. But I do believe that if all of us are willing to share the burdens and benefits of this new economy, then all of us can prosper. Not just because government makes it so, but because we're willing to take responsibility as individuals to work harder and think more and innovate further. Last week, I outlined an agenda to keep America competitive by providing all Americans with a world-class education, investing in research and innovation, devising an energy policy that creates jobs and drastically reduces our dependence on foreign oil, and make sure that our trade policies work for American workers. But today I want to talk once again about my plan to not only ensure the economic security of middle-class families in the long term, but also the need to give them a chance for some relief in the short term, to make sure that Americans aren't just getting by, but getting ahead, that they're able to get a world-class education, build a nest egg, and provide a better life for their children. The first step is to offer immediate relief to families who are struggling right now while helping to jumpstart economic growth and create jobs. Between a sluggish economy and $4 a gallon gas at the pump, the American people can't wait another 6 months for help. Instead of Washington gimmicks like a 3-month gas tax holiday that will only pad oil company profits, we need to do what I called for months ago and pass a second stimulus package that provides energy rebate checks for working families, a fund to help families avoid foreclosure, and increased assistance for states that have been hard hit by the economic downturn. A few days ago, I called on Senator McCain and all members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, to support this $50 billion stimulus package. There are many policies we disagree on, but immediate relief for American families who are struggling shouldn't be one of them. And so, while I haven't received a response from Senator McCain yet, I look forward to hearing one soon. The second step in my agenda is to help provide economic security for families who've been dealing with skyrocketing costs and stagnant wages for years, not just during this latest downturn. I believe it's time to reform our tax code so that it rewards work and not just wealth. So, when I'm president, I'll shut down the corporate loopholes and tax havens, and I'll use the money to help pay for a middle-class tax cut that will provide $1,000 of relief to 95% of workers and their families. We'll also eliminate income taxes for every retiree making less than $50,000 per year, because every senior deserves to live out their life in dignity and respect. And if Senator McCain wants a debate about taxes in this campaign, then it is a debate I am happy to have. Because if your family making less than $250,000 a year, my plan will not raise your taxes. Not your income tax, not your payroll taxes, not your capital gains taxes, not any of your taxes. In fact, what Senator McCain is going to need to explain is why his tax cut for the middle class would leave out 101 million households, and why for the families who are lucky enough to get a tax cut under his plan, it would be worth only about $125 in the first year. The difference is he trusts that prosperity will trickle down from corporations and the wealthiest few to everyone else. I believe it's the hard work of the middle-class American family that fuels this nation's prosperity. I'll also help families who are struggling under the crushing burden of health care costs by passing a plan that brings the typical family's premiums down by $2,500 per family per year and guarantees coverage to everyone who wants it. Senator McCain's health care plan not only fails to cover every American and holds out less hope of cutting health care costs, it would actually tax your health care benefits for the first time ever. Over time, this tax would grow, and after just a few years, it would be so large that middle-class families would face an overall tax increase from his plans. So that's a real choice in this election. As we help families dealing with rising costs, we also have to help families who find themselves mired in credit card debt. That's why I'll establish a credit card bill of rights that will ban unilateral charges to credit card agreements, ban rate hikes on debt people already have, and ban interest charges on late fees. I'll also reform our bankruptcy laws to make sure that if you can demonstrate you went into bankruptcy because of medical expenses, you can relieve that debt and get back on your feet. Even as we take these steps, we also know that it's not enough just to get families back on their feet. We need to help hardworking families get ahead as well. And that's why the third step in my agenda is to give families the help they need to build that nest egg and provide a better life for their children. To make savings easier, we'll automatically enroll every worker in a workplace pension plan that stays with you from job to job. And for working families who earn under $75,000, we will start that nest egg by matching 50% of the first $1,000 you save and depositing it directly into their account. To make college more affordable for every American family, we'll provide a $4,000 tuition credit for students who provide community or national service when they graduate. To make it easier for families to own their own home and stay in that home, we'll crack down on predatory lenders, help more Americans refinance their mortgages, and provide 10 million homeowners a mortgage tax credit that will take 10% off their interest rate. To help those mothers and fathers who are juggling work and families, I'll expand the Child Care Tax Credit, extend Family Medical Leave Act, and make sure that every worker in America has access to 7 days of paid sick leave. I'll make sure that women get equal pay for an equal day's work. And to help those families who own small businesses that are the engines of prosperity in America, I will eliminate all capital gains taxes on startups and small businesses to encourage more innovation and job creation. Now, there's no doubt that this agenda is ambitious. It's also what we need right now. It will take resources in the wake of policies that have created enormous national debt, like the war in Iraq that's costing us $10 billion a month. But the answer to our fiscal problems is not to shortchange investments that will help our families get ahead, investments that are vital to our long-term growth as a nation. The answer is to make sure that we are finding a way to pay for these investments, but cutting where we can. My plan is detailed and specific when it comes to cutting spending. In fact, all of my new spending proposals would be more than paid for by spending reductions. I have a plan to responsibly end the war in Iraq and reduce overpayments for private plans in Medicare, something John McCain has no specific plan to do. I would also curb subsidies to banks making student loans, return earmarks to their 2001 levels, and reform no-bid contracts. I do this because I believe we can have a smarter government that pays its way while investing in our country's future. The Americans I've met over the last 16 months may come from different places and different backgrounds, but they hold common hopes and common dreams, the same simple dreams that my family held for me. They know government can't solve all our problems, and they don't expect it to. They do believe in personal responsibility and hard work and self-reliance, and they don't like to see their tax dollars wasted. But we also believe in fairness and opportunity. In an America where there are jobs for those who are willing to work, where hard work is rewarded with a decent wage, where no matter how much you start with or where you come from or who your parents are, you won't just get by, but can actually get ahead. That's the promise of this country, and I believe we can keep that promise together if we change course and get to work in the months and years ahead.